Welcome back. This is still Breakfast Central. Don't forget that we want to hear from you. Use the hashtag NC Breakfast Central to let us know where you're listening, where you're watching from, to let us know what you think about our conversations. If there's something we should talk about that you want to point us in the direction of, also use the hashtag and, of course, at News Central TV to do that. So we get straight into our first impact conversation, and it's about the SARS, that is the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, and other related agencies, judicial panels that were set up.
Yes, indeed. Now, after the ENDSARS protests witnessed in the country, last year, the federal government directed states to set up judicial panels of inquiry as part of demands to signify that the federal government was committed to eradicating police brutality. Now, Anambra State in southeast Nigeria was among the 29 states, and the FCT, which is the Federal Capital Territory, set up the panels. Now, the governor, Willie Obiano, mandated and the panel, quotes, to address issues of police brutality and SARS-related abuses and bring perpetrators to book. Now, the panel headed by Justice Veronica Ume received over 310 petitions, but there are reports that the panel has suspended sitting due to a lack of funds and other issues. Now, joining us is Chukwuka Osonwa. He is the creative director of Tory Africa and also served, or maybe is serving, as a member of the Anambra State Judicial Panel of Inquiry. And we'll, of course, clarify whether it's served or serving, because there are some issues in relation to the work of the panel. Chukwuka, good morning and welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me here.
All right, let's start with this. Now, the panel adjourned sitting in December for the holidays and then was scheduled to resume on January the 19th. But this is February the 10th and the panel has not resumed. So what's going on? Why has the panel not resumed hearing?
Okay, I think my words are correct. We are meant to resume on January the 14th.
Okay.
Not 19th. So the reason why we are not sitting yet is clearly because of issues about extension. So on our appointment letters, it was clearly written that we are allowed to sit for 12 times. So we are allowed 12 sittings by the government, even though the chairman of the panel, Justice Verome, told the governor on the day of our inauguration that 12 sittings will not be enough. So while we started sitting, we received more petitions than any other states in Nigeria. We received over 310 petitions, including petitions from the police itself. So 12 sittings was clearly not enough. At the end of 12 sittings, that was December, the secretary wrote, we agreed that the secretary should write to the governor for an extension of sittings. And we were expecting that by January the 14th, that this extension would have been approved. But that's one thing, one case. Then the other thing is that the panel was not funded well. So if you could recall, there was even a time in the sittings where we had to go on some suspension of sittings so that the government could come halfway. So they were able to just come halfway and did not complete everything. So now we cannot resume because the extension has not been approved and issues of logistics have not been sorted out.
All right, so extension, one of the issues alongside funding and logistics. But Chukwuka, you just mentioned about the number of petitions that were filed in terms of the Anambra panel, which you said over 300, clearly one of the largest in the country, with the lack of funds cited and all that. But with these over 300 petitions coming in, what were the main issues exactly with them? What were the main themes of these petitions that we've seen so far?
It was clearly based on police brutality. So, Anambra State is arguably the center of police brutality in Nigeria. So we've had gruesome cases coming out from SARS or Kozo and even the one at Nene. So there is, I read an article that said there is clearly no Anambrian or somebody resident in Anambra State that you will meet and they have not in one way or the other encountered police brutality. So there were a lot of cases pouring in and we even had to set a deadline for the cases. So these cases were on police brutality, on encounters of people with the Nigerian police, especially SARS.
So one of the reasons we know as you mentioned, maybe Anambra is one of the hot spots that many people took interest in the Anambra proceedings was because of James Nwafor, the former head of a SARS unit in the state. There were horrific stories involving him and his men. Was the panel able to make any headway regarding the allegations against him in particular?
We as panel members, we sit sort of like judges. So we depend on the lawyers to tell us what they need us to do. And when we look at the Constitution, if it is the right thing to do, we do them. I think it was Mahmoud Abdul, Oracle, who requested that James Nwafor should be summoned and all. So James Nwafor was summoned. He did not appear. The next line in action was for Mahmoud to also appeal for a warrant of arrest, but he didn't move to that stage. He decided to conclude his case on that. So without the lawyers or the representatives asking us to get them, we won't hear it.
Wow. So I just have to follow up because many of us are familiar with the stories of family members, the river where bodies were allegedly, but as many people have confirmed those, the river where many bodies were buried or rather dumped as it was. At one point in time, same Nwafor was serving as an aide to the governor, and it was because of public outcry that he was removed from that position. So what is the next step? Because this particular aspect of the Anambra sitting is of interest to many, many people. And you even mentioned that the police also submitted petitions. So in terms of the fact that the sittings right now are suspended, you're waiting for an extension, you've summoned him, he did not come, there was supposed to be an arrest warrant issued, but what's going to be the next move if the panel is able to sit regarding James Nwafor? A lot of people want to see action taken, particularly in his case.
So clearly, everybody is asking the same question. What is the next move? What is in the mind of the Anambra state government? Because from everything before us, it appears that we were played by the Anambra state government.
That you were what? So can you repeat that?
That we were played by the government.
Oh, wow.
Maybe to pull down the protest and all. To start with, the panel was made up of a lot of political appointees, government apologies, and the names of panel members were not released until inauguration. After inauguration, we still had people being added up to the panel. So our panel has not just the largest number of petitions, but also the largest number of panel members sitting. So we were played by the government, and we clearly do not know what is next. So does the government still want to continue the sitting, or is it more interested in the November election? So we do not clearly know. And I do not even know whether to address myself as a former member of the panel or as a sitting member.
Wow.
That's quite startling to address yourself as a former or still sitting. Well, you were there, you've been on the panel. What stories have stuck with you? And from what you've observed, are Anambrarians willing to come out? Have they really come out to tell their stories?
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I wouldn't want to mention or give preference to any story, but these stories are touching and stuff. At some point, NGOs were reaching out to us, which is the right thing to take if we psychologically need help about these stories. Some of these stories are gruesome to listen to. You wonder if it's a human being who perpetrated all this. But whether little or big, these things are things done against humanity and deserve a listening ear at least.
All right, so 310 petitions received. We heard reports about 23 were actually attended to. Of those 23, did any of them actually have some form of resolution, recommendation for justice or compensation, or that will only come if and possibly when the panel actually resumes sitting?
Yes, that will come if and when the panel resumes sitting. There was no clear mapping out of, the panel has not yet decided on what to do with what to say on this petition, because then there is still room for us to carry out investigations on these cases before we get to our resolution. So So we have not yet done those things. So as of now, the 23 concluded cases, we do not have any recommendations yet from them.
All right, Chukwuka, before we let you go, you've been one of the youth representatives appointed to various such panels across the country. Now, with what you've seen in terms of, sincerity of the part of state government on this issue, would you think that you would do it again? Would you sit on such panels again, should an extension come?
I am not interested. I will be frank with you. So I am one of the persons who did not miss a panel sitting. I did not miss out of the 12 sittings. I did not miss any sitting. I was not late to any of them and did not leave early. So I gave it my time. I had to stop business at Korea Africa to be there throughout to the whole stuff. But to seeing that the government is not even interested, they're interested in playing politics, I do not see going back to the panel as being fruitful. They have not shown us a sign of the trust towards them. So I do not see myself going back to the city.
And where do you think that will leave the panel right now? Should you not be there when maybe if an extension does come, where does that leave this whole exercise?
I clearly will wish them the best of luck because I am not the only good person on the panel. So I would wish and pray that should there be an extension, that the chairman of the panel would continue and do what is right, both by these victims. Yeah.
All right, we will touch base with you again if, and many people are hoping when the panel does announce resumption of sittings and things move forward. 310 petitions, 23 dealt with, no recommendations, no resolutions, no compensation, no justice as of yet. But Chukwuka Osonwa, thank you so much. As he said, right now, do we say former member or sitting member of the Anambra State Judicial Panel of Inquiry, as well as the creative director for Tory Africa. Thank you so much for joining us on Breakfast Central.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.